The Bloody Second Ward, Little Berlin, Old Germantown, and Cabbage Town were all names that were used to describe what is today known as Ann Arbor's Old West Side. This neighborhood, directly west of Ann Arbor's downtown area, was originally inhabited mainly by people of German descent. Platted in 1846, it was the first major area to be developed beyond the city's original boundaries, which had been established in 1824. In the 1800s, the Old West Side was the second largest German community in the state, second only to Detroit. The German language, German food, and customs were all found in abundance. Germans were the predominant ethnic group until the 1950s. While today, residents of the Old West Side represent a variety of ethnic groups, most senior citizens living in the neighborhood are still of German descent. The first German to come to Ann Arbor was Conrad Bissinger, a baker who had learned his trade in his hometown of Mannheim, the largest city in the Duchy of Baden in southern Germany. After arriving in Charleston, South Carolina, he made his way to Ann Arbor in 1825, just 1 year after the town had been founded by John Allen, along with Elisha Rumsey.
Ann Arbor was then just a clearing in the woods with about 50 people and a few log cabins, obviously not a large enough population to support a baker. So Conrad Bissinger went back to Charleston, South Carolina, and worked at his trade for a while longer, saving money to buy land in Washtenaw County. When he came back in 1831, he discovered that he was no longer the only German in the area, that 2 years previous, 3 German families had come to the Ann Arbor area and started a migration pattern that was to go on for the next 100 years.
They were the families of Jonathan H. Mann, Ernst Peter Schilling, and Daniel F. Allmendinger. Although they had not known each other until they met in this country, they all happened to come from the same part of southern Germany. This area was called Swabia, which was in the kingdom of Württemberg. Mann came from Stuttgart, Allmendinger from Beinstein, east of Stuttgart, and Schilling from Weinsberg, northeast of Stuttgart. Jonathan Heinrich Mann, a tanner by trade, had come to the United States in 1824 and settled first in Reading, Pennsylvania. Hearing of good farming land in Michigan, he decided to visit the state to see if he wanted to move his family there. Not being able to afford a horse, he traveled by foot power, going first to Danville, New York, because he had learned that a German who lived there, Daniel Allmendinger, was also going to Michigan. When he arrived, Allmendinger had already left. However, he met another German named Ernst Peter Schilling, whom he persuaded to join him. Schilling and Mann walked on to Buffalo, New York, where they finally caught up with Allmendinger. The three of them continued by steamboat across Lake Erie to Detroit. They visited Ann Arbor, and liking what they saw, decided to settle there.
Schilling remained while the other two went back for their families. Both Schilling and Allmendinger bought farms in Scioto Township. Allmendinger bought a farm on what is today Jackson Road, and before he went back for his family, he planted a crop of corn and 400 plum trees. Schilling bought a farm further to the west on what is today Park Road. Meanwhile, Mann bought a lot in town for $12 on the corner of Washington and First and built a house. He also bought a tannery on what is today Ashley and resumed his trade of tanning with deerskins as a specialty. Although Ann Arbor had a population of over 300 families, the countryside was still full of wild animals. When Mann had collected and treated enough skins, he would walk in Detroit to sell them.
Jonathan Mann wrote to his brother-in-law, Emanuel Josenhans, in Stuttgart, giving a very favorable account of the new territory and the route by which it could be reached. Mr. Josenhans circulated this letter amongst people in the neighborhood of Stuttgart, which started the immigration to Michigan by a class of small farmers and tradesmen.
The Germans attracted to Ann Arbor were not wealthy, but they had to have enough money for transportation and to buy a farm or a business when they arrived. Alternately, sometimes they were sponsored by someone, either a relative or someone who could use their services. Often the head of the family would come first and then send for the rest of the family once he was established. Or sometimes the family would send one of the sons when there wasn't enough land to divide among all the children.
The settlers arriving from Swabia were usually evangelical Lutheran, although a few were Roman Catholic or Methodist. Wanting to hear church services in German, they asked Jonathan Mann to write to the Basel Mission House, a seminary near Swabia, where a relative of Mann's was a member of the executive committee, asking if a pastor could be sent.
The pastor chosen to respond to the call was a remarkable man named Friedrich Schmidt. Born in 1807 in Waldorf, he came from the Kingdom of Württemberg, just like the settlers who were calling for his services. He had originally wanted to be a missionary in Africa or India, but instead ended up ministering to his own countrymen in America. At the end of his 50-year career, he had founded about 20 churches in Michigan and was instrumental in the founding of many more. He arrived in Ann Arbor on August 20th, 1833, and was joyously welcomed by the German community, especially the Mann family, who housed him until he got settled.
Needing a church for the community, they elected Jonathan Mann and Daniel Almendinger as trustees of the First German Evangelical Society of Scio, and accepted Almendinger's offer of an acre of his farmland to build the church in 1833. This location was suitable since the vast majority of the members lived in the country. They erected a 32 by 26 foot building at a cost of $265.32. They worked so fast that it was ready for services by the end of December. They named their new church Zion. It has the distinction of being the first German church built in Michigan. In 1834, a year after he arrived, Schmid married Jonathan Mann's daughter, Sophie Louise. As a wedding present, Mann built them a house in Lodi Township, across from Salem Lutheran Church.
We have an eyewitness account of an 1835 service written by Karl Horning, a German who was writing a magazine article about Germans in America. He wrote, "I walked alongside Mr. Mann. It was Sunday. Soon there were others. Men with pointed hats and women wearing Swabian bonnets appeared from the bush and joined us. About 100 people attended. I was told that no one was absent except those whose state of health or whose advanced age made the long walk inadvisable. Mr. Schmidt rose and delivered a very sound and moving sermon, which was not only listened to in absolute silence, but was also understood and appreciated. As far as possible, he spoke in the Swabian dialect." Schmidt's duties went far beyond being the spiritual leader of the community. He also served as a doctor when there was not a doctor present to comfort the sick. When there was a feud, he was called in to mediate. He offered hospitality to visitors and to recent immigrants. His son Frederick later wrote, "At times, the parsonage resembled a hotel with this difference. The guests were free to come and go without paying." He was helped in all these endeavors by his family. His father was an expert in herbal medicine. His wife often helped with the translating since she was better at English, having been in this country since she was 9. And his 12 children, as they came of age, also were enlisted to help. Being the only German Protestant minister in Michigan, he also found time to travel to other German communities and to preach and to help them set up their own congregations. At first, he traveled everywhere by foot until he'd been in this country 6 years. He was given a horse by another minister who no longer needed it. He covered an area as far north as Saginaw, as far south as Monroe, as far east as Detroit, and as far west as Allegan.
In 1845, the group purchased land on the northeast corner of First and Washington, diagonally across from Jonathan Mann's house, and began building a new church. When it was finished in 1849, Schmid moved to town to be closer to the new church, which was named Bethlehem. For a time, services were held once a month at the old church in the country, but attendance dwindled. Finally, the church building was used only for occasional weddings and funerals. It was torn down in 1883. The Bethlehem Church on First and Washington met a similar fate when it was replaced in 1895 by the present Bethlehem Church on 4th Avenue. The old church ended up being the stable and then garage for the Mac department store. While the original German Zion Church was moving into town, another German church was being organized, the German Methodist Society. The newly organized group purchased property on the corner of Division and Liberty and built a church. One of their charter members was Daniel Allmendinger, the same man who had donated the land for the Zion Church. In 1896, the church moved to a new building on the corner of Jefferson and 4th. Still one of the beauty spots of the Old West Side. In 1951, they moved to their present location on South 7th Street. Two other churches to minister to the German community were founded in later years. Zion Lutheran, an offshoot of Bethlehem, was organized in 1875. Their church was located on the northeast corner of South 5th Avenue. In 1957, they built a new church on West Liberty at Virginia Street. St. Paul's Lutheran was founded in 1908. Their church was located on the northeast corner of Huron and Chapin. In 1927, they built a church on the corner of 3rd and Liberty. In 1846, William Maynard, owner of a general store and local developer, whose projects included the land given to the University of Michigan, platted the area which was to become the heart of the Old West Side. Known as Maynard's First Edition, it went from 1st to 4th Streets between Madison and William. In 1858, he continued to 5th Street and added a spur of land bordered by Madison, Mosley, 3rd, and Main. Maynard's Addition was a natural choice to build on for Germans moving into town, since it was located between their farms and their church. In 1861, he completed the area up to 7th Street. In 1882, almost 40 years after it was laid out, there were still plenty of empty lots. But by 1922, almost all the lots were sold.
In the 19th century, it was important to live near the church. Not only was the church a place to worship on Sunday, but it formed their whole social network. In the days before widespread insurance policies and government social service agencies, the church also served this purpose. If a parishioner became sick, other church members would do all they could to help them get well. If financial tragedy struck, they would make sure the rest of the family didn't go hungry.
The homes in the Old West Side were built in all the popular styles of the time. Prosperous citizens located first on the well-drained major streets, while the lowlands gradually filled in with the more modest homes of working-class families. Peter Brame, owner of the Western Union Brewery on 4th Street, in 1870 built a mansard-roofed home on Liberty, an easy walking distance to his factory. Lauren Mills, Ann Arbor's first tailor, built this Italianate home on Huron, a little bit of a walk to his tailoring shop on Main and Liberty. Henry Krause built an Italianate house on the corner of Liberty and 3rd, just a block from his tannery on 2nd and William Streets. William Hertz, who owned the paint store on Washington Street, built a Queen Anne home on Huron. His wife enjoyed entertaining friends in the backyard. Contractor C. John Waltz built a Queen Anne for himself on 2nd Street in 1888. It stayed in the family for 3 generations through his granddaughter Florence, a Baugh school teacher and one of the founders of the Old West Side Association. Another Waltz, Christian, built this house at 512 2nd, about 1855. It also stayed in the same family many years. Waltz's daughter, Dolly, married Andrew Hunter. Hunter and his 2 sons owned and operated 2 of Ann Arbor's earliest gas stations, both on 1st. One on the corner of Liberty, now Apple Rose Natural Foods, and one on the corner of Huron, now Fine Flowers. One of the show places of the neighborhood was the Allmendinger home on Washington. The family of 13 enjoyed sitting in the backyard under their gazebo. The 2 ponds in the backyard were created by using water from an Allen's Creek tributary, which ran through the property. Special soil was brought in to develop the rose garden. The majority of the old West Side homes were modest working-class residences. An early example is this house, known as the Cabin House, built in a Greek Revival style sometime in the 1850s. Original owners, William and Catherine Kuhn, resided there with their 8 children. After William Kuhn's death in 1879, he bequeathed his home and the land to his wife, Catherine. In 1985, the home was to be demolished, to be replaced with a modular structure. But it was saved because of the efforts of the Old West Side Association and is today one of the highlights of the neighborhood. Simple Queen Anne's and 4 squares followed. The houses on Murray and Mulholland, 2 streets laid out by Judge Murray, are excellent examples of this simple but eminently livable style.
My husband worked down here for the water department, utilities department now, and so we moved down here. He had bought a house in Chelsea, but they would not let him live there because he was on call all night, and it was too far away. So we had to sell. He had to sell that house and come down here. So we rented over on Washington Street for 3.5 years, and then we built this house in '32.
So the house on Washington Street was very close to the water department.
Yes, and this was too.
And this
right
is
down
really...
here on 7th. He worked out. It used to be. Now it's apartment units down there.
Right, those condominiums.
Yeah, that's right.
Now you built this house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you tell about how that happened?
Well, we got tired of paying rent. It was $55 a month then, which is seems like cheap now. And we looked around at homes, and to buy one already built, they wanted around $8,000. Well, that was very high in those days, so we knew we could build cheaper. So my husband was afraid to build. He was afraid to take the responsibility, but I wasn't, so I said, let's go ahead. And that was through the Depression, and he had his wages cut down to $125 a month. Wow. And but we paid for the house. We paid a little as we went along, and when our children were born, we paid the doctor $5 a month for a year until they were each paid for.
How many kids did you have?
2.
But this house, you mean you bought the lot and then you...
bought the lot. We bought the lot with the garage on it because Oscar Steerley lived here, and he had the cement mixing that he did the sidewalks. He put in sidewalks. So he built the garage, was 5 years old when we bought the lot and the garage, and we bought them for $1,550.
You mean he lived here, he lived in the garage?
No, he was married and lived with his wife's parents over on Liberty.
Oh, you mean he lived here in town?
Oh, yeah, he lived here in town. They were going to build here, but then he wanted to go on the farm. His wife didn't want to go. She felt bad for years. She called this her home, but she finally got reconciled to
see.
it.
So you bought the lot and the garage, and then you built the house.
And then we built the house. We hired a contractor. We didn't have an architect. We hired the the man that drew up the plans for 75 cents an hour, and our 3 carpenters got 50 cents an hour. One of them was John Miller. You remember John Miller through the West Side News.
Right. And then, didn't you tell me you saw the plan in a magazine or something?
Yes,
and then you
in a magazine.
But you made it smaller?
Sitting on the porch. We had a garden. At that time, we had the whole back, half of the backyard, back of the garage, ran all the way across, and we grew everything. I would can, and we didn't freeze because we didn't have the automatic freezers then, but I would can things like string beans and not peas. They were rather hard to grow, but they were very good, the fresh peas when you grew them.
Yeah, you don't have to cook them.
We raised potatoes, and we even had chickens back there when the children were growing up. We had a fence around the garage, and they each had a pet chicken, so we had eggs.
Oh, my. So that's really country living by today's
that's
standards.
right. That's right.
Did you have a fruit cellar in the basement?
Yes, we still got it, but it isn't full of fruit. I used to have every shelf 50 quarts of tomatoes every summer.
Wow.
And pickles. But I loved it. I like housework.
You'd make your own pickles?
I did then, but I don't now. But my grandchildren still would like them. And I'd say, well, if you come and help me, we'll make some. And none of them offered to. So it's a different day and age.
Another unique aspect of the Old West Side was the incorporation of factories and businesses in the neighborhood, such as Allmendinger's Organ Factory on the corner of Washington and First. It was founded by David Allmendinger, a cousin of original settler Daniel Allmendinger, in 1872, and lasted until World War I, when people began listening to phonograph records rather than making their own music. The Michigan Union Brewery was started by Peter Brame in 1866 on 4th Street near Jefferson. At one time, there were 6 breweries operating in Ann Arbor to meet the town's demand, mainly from the German community. Keck's Furniture Factory, later the Michigan Furniture Factory, on 4th Street across from the brewery, started in 1880 and employed many of the skilled carpenters in the neighborhood. The Central Mills on First and Liberty, now the Ann Arbor Implement Company, was in a good location for farmers coming into town down Liberty to bring their wheat to be ground into flour. The site had originally been Hauser's Brewery. The cooling cellars can still be seen in the basement. The Henry Schlemmer family's Fluff Rug Factory was an early example of recycling. Old rugs were brought in to be cut up and made into rag rugs. The factory was located on Huron near 3rd. Previously, this site was occupied by the Ann Arbor City Foundry from the 1850s to the 1890s.
In the 19th century, when Ann Arbor's population was roughly divided between Germans and people from the British Isles, the latter tended to be doctors, lawyers, teachers, while the Germans had the reputation for being excellent craftsmen. Many had served apprenticeships in the old country and were trained as carpenters, masons, brewers, or tanners.
Factories opened in the Old West Side which could use these skills. The Allens Creek Valley was an ideal place for these industries to locate, since it offered plentiful water and a place to discharge waste materials. Breweries and tanneries located near Allens Creek because they also needed large amounts of water for cooling and soaking their products. Between World War I and World War II, a new set of factories began operating in the Old West Side, still employing many in the neighborhood, but producing more modern products. The Argus Camera Company moved into the furniture factory and brewery buildings, and also built a 3rd structure. The site of the Ann Arbor Fluff Rug Company was taken over by American Brooch, who made industrial brooches. Gas gauges for automobiles were built by the King Sealy Company, located on First and Liberty, which replaced Krause's Tannery Shop.
Getting back to Fiegel's, when did you become a partner? Tell about your...
Well, after, in 36.
In 36?
36.
So after you'd been here 10 years.
Right.
And did you gradually buy stock, or how did it come
I
about?
bought, it's in the store, and I paid so much down. We capitalized at $30,000, and we each, there was three of us boys who bought an interest in the store. And we paid down $2,000 the first year, and then we paid each year we paid more till it was paid off.
And you paid this to Mr. Fiegel?
Yes.
What are the origins of the store? Mr. Fiegel started this store?
No.
No, the business?
Yes.
The Fiegel sold us the business, yes.
Going backwards, who started the business?
J. Fred Worth.
Oh, of the Worth Theater.
That man started the J.F. Worth Company.
And that was a clothing store?
That was the successor. That was the store before Fiegel took it over.
What were the neighborhood stores there? That you say there were Schlegel's and Dean's? They were next to each other?
No, they were across the street from each other. One was up a little ways.
And were there other neighborhood stores?
There were the Schneebergers on Jefferson Street.
Oh, where it's today Jefferson Market.
Fabulous store with meats.
Right across from school.
Oh,
Right
yes, it's
across
still
from
there.
Broad
It's the
School.
only one there, yeah.
Still running, but not the the Schneebergers are now passed on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was good, too. So we really didn't have to go to stores, and we didn't have any. We had some grocery stores down in Ann Arbor. There was a stabler business.
Oh, yeah, where the old German is?
Yeah. And they sold cars, too.
Well, tell us two things. The different houses you lived in and then who your neighbors were. You say when David was born, you moved?
Yeah, we moved out of Herb's mother's house just about 3 houses down the street with some people by the name Noel. He was an insurance man here.
Oh, yes, I know that house.
Probably.
It's a blue house now.
Yeah.
So you lived upstairs? Or
No, we lived downstairs, and the maiden lady, Miss Noel, lived upstairs.
I see.
And it worked out
Her name was Lena. Lena Knoll.
Okay,
She's a great lady.
And then when did you move to Mount Vernon?
When the twins were 3 years old. That was about, how long?
1956.
Yeah, 1956.
Beg your pardon, 1946.
Oh, yeah, make them. We all want to be younger these days.
They were 3 years old when we moved up on Mount Vernon. That was near Eberwhite School.
Yeah. What was the address of the second house you lived on 2nd?
508.
508. Yeah, and that's still there. Well, so 2nd Street, tell us some of your neighbors, their names and what they did.
Well, there were Betty Feiner lived there. They had the paint shop on William Street. She lived across the street. And then the Stottles lived across the street. And the Neesleys that had the Neesley shoe store, they were up in the next block from us, south. And then my uncle, George Fry, lived on the corner of 2nd and Madison. And they had 3 boys. And let's see, who else was in?
Andrew Hunter.
Andrew Hunter.
Oh, yeah, tell about him. Did he live next door?
He lived just 2 doors from us when we lived in Herb's mother's house. And he
lived with Andrew Hunter, lived at about 5010, was it?
I think so. He was from Guelph, Canada. And he married an American girl, and they had 2 sons. And then he went in the oil business.
The home next to Dean's Market, Mabel, just north there.
That was Noel's. Ed Noel.
Noel, that would be, or south, that's Noel's house. Ralph Noel lived there for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, but the other way.
Oh, what was their name? I can't think.
Oh, and then on the corner was Florence Hiscock. Was she there when you were there?
Yes, yeah. And her father was a banker.
And she went on to be one of the founders of the Old West Side.
That's right.
Yeah.
She and Harry Cook.
Harry Cook.
She's a very fine lady. I had her as a substitute teacher at Slauson School.
She was great.
And she is related to the Eberwhite family.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
all,
right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're right.
So I'm trying to sort of picture what growing up in that neighborhood would be like. It seems like you would know everybody.
Oh, it was
and
nice.
not just
It was
beyond
great.
knowing. You went to church together. You were related to half of
It
them.
was really great. Yeah, there's nothing like it today.
Yeah.
As a
I'm
kid,
very sorry.
you know, Grace, my mother would say, "Where are you going, Dave?" And I said, "I'm going to go across the street and have a glass of milk and some toast with a neighbor across the street."
There's a Stadel.
Yes, and then the one further down.
Yeah.
And you just
Right.
chummed with everybody on the street, and if you were
Everybody
there at
was
lunchtime, you
great.
had lunch. You know,
You were just. Did you feel like you were everybody's kid or
you
something?
just did. You felt like you were part of everybody.
Well, you used to go to the Pauls down the street. They
Right.
were an old couple from Manchester, and he would go down there a lot.
Yeah, it was just wonderful. It's like my mother said, the feeling of just the
We
nice
don't have-
homogeneous feeling of it
Yeah.
being so friendly with everyone.
Yeah.
You didn't have to worry about shutting your doors and locking them during the day. You didn't have to
No.
worry about things of that nature.
We never
Yeah.
locked our door when I was young. When we
Wow.
lived on Brook Street, never.
Yeah.
And
So,
it was just the children. I think have missed a lot today.
Similar to the factories, most of Ann Arbor's stores in the 19th and early 20th century were owned and operated primarily by Germans. Many of these German-owned stores still exist in downtown Ann Arbor, such as Schlenker's Hardware, Schlander's Jewelry, Vogel's Locksmith, Fiegel's Menswear, Mass Shoe Store, and Ehnis & Sons Clothing. Since the late 1920s, the tradition of authentic German food has been provided by the Old German and Metzger's restaurants, both still in business today.
The largest of the German-owned stores was Mack & Company, which started as Mack & Schmidt by Pastor Schmidt's son, Frederick Schmidt Jr., and his son-in-law, Christian Mack. Located on the corner of Liberty and Main, it carried everything from furniture to household goods to clothes to music. It even had a bargain basement. It was the center of town life from its founding in 1860 to its closing in 1939.
Another important business was the neighborhood markets. These stores were once found every few blocks. When people used ice boxes and did not have easy transportation, to grocery stores. These neighborhood markets served an important function to the neighborhood. No discussion of the stores and businesses of the Old West Side would be complete without mention of the local hangout, the Washtenaw Dairy. Located on the corner of Madison and Ashley, its full name is Washtenaw Milk and Ice Cream. Built in 1912 as a garage and motor company, it was changed to a dairy in 1936. Today, the dairy serves as a center of the Old West Side with people of all ages and walks of life dropping in. Opening at 5 a.m. so people can stop by for coffee and donuts on the way to work, it continues into the day with a group of old-time regulars, mostly retired, who enjoy longer chats in the mid-morning. In the evening, families stop by for ice cream cones. The present owners, Doug Raab and Jim Smith, have owned the store since 1973.
In the Washtenaw Milk and Dairy, usually known as Washtenaw Dairy, a hangout for people who live in the Old West Side and who have connections with the Old West Side. And with us today is...
My name is Ted Heusel. This is not a hangout. It's a meeting place for the intellectual of Ann Arbor.
My name is Ed Raab. I was born a block up the street here, and I've lived in this town for 78 years.
My name is Nick Sudia. I'm a new resident in Ann Arbor of about 8 years, but I enjoy my daily visits to the dairy.
I'm Maynard Newton. I was born in Ann Arbor 66 years ago.
I'm Matt Gauntlet, and this is the high point of my day every day.
I'm Warren Stabler. I was born in Ann Arbor 82 years ago. I'm still here.
What do you want to know about the Old West Side?
Well, maybe we should
Hey,
start.
no, let's start with this building. They think the building was around 1908, 1906 or 8, but I have some old paper here that says it was the Cook Auto Garage and Buick Motor Company early. And then in 1914, the Bettinger and Springer Garage. In 1915, Mechanical Electrical Garage, Lucas Chadet Company. It was vacant in 16. It was Drug Craft in 1917. And then Ann Arbor Chemical. In 1924, the Crosby Ross Windows Sign Company in 30. And then in 33, Argonne Popcorn Invertible Windows. And then back to the McClinic Laboratories, and then finally, in the 30s, the Washtenaw Dairy. Heusels came over after the turn of the century.
Did they learn how to be bakeries in Germany?
And he had the big bakery up there across from the Federal Building. He owned that block there. And then he brought over the Metzgers, the Labengeyers, all the bakers, the ones in Chelsea and the ones in Dexter.
Wow.
The original. Maynard's father was a well-known realtor here many years ago, so he...
Well, he was typical. He came here to go to university, and he never went back to Pontiac. He knew a good thing when he saw it.
His father came to the university in the 20s?
18.
18.
Graduated class of 22.
And they were German, they were English or something?
English and German. Born in Pontiac. Both his mother and father came in from the farm, no education. Very typical.
Was he part of the Brooks Newton?
He was Charlie Brooks' junior partner.
Well, they bought my grandfather's building.
At 201 East Liberty?
Right there in the corner.
Yeah, with the round corner.
Yes.
Yeah. That was Charlie Brooks' office. Then when Charlie died, then my dad took it. After the Korean War, my brother and I joined my dad.
But Matt over here, he's here every day, and he's an old guard at the Milan prison.
Old guard.
One of the old
Come on.
Old guard.
Does the dairy remind you of that prison at all?
No.
A lot of faces in here remind me of the post office.
You'd like to stamp them?
Like I said before, this is Mueling's waiting room.
Now, right up here, we have our horseshoe pit.
Oh, yeah, talk about that.
That the Ottos owned. And the Ottos, are they related to the Raabs?
Way back somehow. It's really not close relatives, no. My granddad came here in the late 1800s, and he built that nice brick house up on the corner of First and Mosley. And my father was just a young kid at the time, and he told me he helped his dad, who I never saw, because he died before I was born. But at one time, our relatives filled this whole block, more or less. My granddad was on the corner. 2 houses down was an uncle. 2 more houses down was another uncle, and down on the corner, my uncle, Heine Raab, the plumber that we were talking about.
And that was Elmer Raab.
Elmer Raab's father.
His father. And Elmer Raab was the state horseshoe champion at one time.
Wow.
And then on 2nd Street, where Hap Otto lived, my father played there about 60-some years ago. And that's when they started. Maybe it was 70s.
Your
At
father
one
played
time,
horseshoes,
yeah,
and then he taught you how to play horseshoes?
No, it was before my time.
Oh.
And he was playing horseshoes there, and they had lights there at one time. And in the old days, before they had lights, they'd come down on Sylvan and park their cars up there and turn the lights on.
Wow. So they get enough light.
So the horseshoe, the home, Maynard Otto passed away. The home is for sale now, so the horseshoe club is up in the air. We have people that come to this dairy that can't sleep at night, and they park their car out there until they come and open it up. Sometimes the cops stop them, right, Matt? They wonder who they are sitting there, but they're really waiting for the dairy to open, and the guy comes in and makes the coffee. He can't sleep at night. Then a crew comes in at 4 or 5, and then another one at 6 or 7, and more come in at 8 or 9. It goes on all day like that here at the dairy.
Oh, yeah.
Here's old Harry, the old maestro.
We call him the mayor of the West Side. Harry was instrumental in seeing to it that the West Side was renovated and looked good. And now it's when I was on the school board in Ann Arbor, we had considered at one time of moving out the school because we thought this would eventually be a rundown area and people wouldn't move in here with kids. And now it's a beautiful place. It's a choice place to live now, the old West Side. Raab and his son Jimmy are having the dairy as it is today. Now we were trying to get back, what years did you guys start?
Start working here?
What years as a kid did you start working at the dairy?
Till, I don't know, 42?
1942. What about Doug?
I think it was probably a little before that, 41 maybe. Ed should know.
And when did you take over as the owner?
1972.
1972 as the owner. And they changed it somewhat, made it as it is today, a hangout and a coffee establishment.
Hangout. Well, it's not a hangout,
no,
Ed, it's a business place. You know?
Well, it's a non-profit business place.
Yeah, hey, I already told him that you said this is a non-profit organization.
That's right. Wasn't designed that way, but that's the way it turned out.
Now, you know, an interesting thing about Jimmy is that he lived and his mother lived in a home on, was it Redeemer? Ravenna. That big brick home on the corner of Ravenna and what? Huron. Okay, my grandmother lived there and paid $1 a week rent. $4 a month. This is the heir apparent to this empire.
What? Big Jim.
Big Jim. Jimmy Smith Jr.
Junior. Little one.
Oh, come on.
What do you want
Big
to know?
Jim, little Jim.
You started working as a teenager, right?
Young. I don't know a teenager, but I was young.
And you started?
Your whole life?
Yeah. Ever since I can remember, he's been here. So, my whole life, he's been here a long time.
And you started making donuts?
Years ago.
Years ago?
Yeah, and then I drove truck for a year, about 2 years, and then I got sick of that. Got sick of making donuts, and then I did lottery. I was just a lottery agent. That's all I did, is did lottery. Punch buttons. I did that for a few years until there's machines, and now I'm just working behind the counter.
Now he's part of the corporation.
Just working behind the counter, talking to people.
Part of the corporation.
Talking to guys like Ted that come down here every morning, telling stories, lying to everybody.
You know everybody that comes in.
Hi, Doc.
Yeah, everybody comes in. They're like family. Everybody comes in. It's like family. So they come in, you know.
The Ann Arbor Railroad, the second of Ann Arbor's 2 railroads, was located in the Old West Side. Built in 1889 by James Ashley, it first linked northern Michigan's mineral and timber wealth with the industrial Northeast. The depot was well located for Old West Side industries, being at South Ashley and West William Streets. Buckeye and Green Seal beers were shipped there from Toledo and put on a spur of railroad track where they would be loaded onto a horse-drawn wagon and taken 5 blocks to the Duper Beer distributorship on 4th Street. Its passenger service brought people into Ann Arbor to the university and to the University Hospital, as well as away from Ann Arbor for vacations up north. For those people who wanted a one-day vacation, the railroad provided the Ping Pong Special. This route provided 8 trips daily in the summer back and forth to Whitmore Lake. Three churches, Bethlehem, Zion, and St. Paul's, ran parochial schools for their parishioners' children. Bethlehem started a school in 1848 when they moved into town on 1st Street. The school closed in 1914. Zion opened their school in 1875 after they divided from Bethlehem. By 1910, they were offering just 7th and 8th grades, for which they were accredited by the city school system. They taught the same subjects as the public schools, but added religion and Bible history. The school closed in 1918. The newest of these schools was St. Paul's German School, which opened when the church bought the Kraus House in 1919 and lasted until they tore it down in 1927. In 1963, St. Paul's opened their present school. Public school education was also available to Old West Side children. In 1859, a school was built on the corner of Jefferson and 4th. Originally known as the Second Ward School, because the school district was organized with each voting area having a school, after 1898, it was renamed the Philip Baugh School. Baugh, who died in 1895, had been a member of the school board for 34 years and also mayor of Ann Arbor. He was the first German-born citizen to be so honored. The choice of this particular school to honor his memory was probably based on the fact that he was German, like most of the students in the school. A new building replaced the old one in 1922. 2 new additions have been added since that time, and the playground has been enlarged. Slauson Junior High, named after Herbert Slauson, superintendent of schools from 1898 to 1919, was built on Washington Street in 1936 as a PWA, Public Works Administration project. Junior high schools had been introduced in Ann Arbor in 1925 to better prepare students for high school and to ease elementary school overcrowding.
Tell me about the neighborhood in West Washington. You grew up there.
Well, we lived about, it was one house from the corner of 7th Street, and we were very close to the park, West Park. So we used to play down at West Park, and we had neighbors about my age, several of them, the Steves and the Holzauers and the Zahns. Ben Zahn used to be the fire chief in town. He lived in the neighborhood. And Mr. Mulbatch was the city inspector, building inspector. He lived on the corner of 7th and Washington. And the Cook brothers lived on the corner, on the southwest corner. One had an automobile repair garage, and the other worked as a mechanic for Mack & Company. And the Gausses lived down the street. Rody Gauss, he's still around town.
What did he do?
He worked for the city.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that they were, I'm struck that they're no university people. It was all
every day. I would say most of the people were probably fortunate they had a 6th grade education. None of them were professional people at all.
And were they all German?
I would say probably 90% of them. There was a few, but I don't think Mr. Lindy was a German, and the Murrays weren't German. But,
oh yeah, the Murray of Judge Murray.
Judge Murray, yeah.
Yeah, that must have been the biggest house in the street there.
Right, it was, yeah.
And then, did people still speak German in the neighborhood?
Only if they didn't want their children to understand what they were talking about.
That's the way to
or if they were talking to the elders, their elders, or their parents. Or they went out into the rural areas. It was almost exclusively German.
Another aspect of the German culture in the Old West Side was the home life, which reflected their German heritage. People spoke and read German, enjoyed German customs, and ate German food. The German language was so widely used that new immigrants could manage without knowing English. Storekeepers would know German, church services were in German, schooling was available in German, German papers were published, the longest lasting being the Neue Post. As late as the 1930s, German was still spoken in the Old West Side neighborhoods.
Even when families were here long enough that they no longer spoke German at home, those in business still needed to know it well enough to speak to elderly customers or to recent German immigrants. The German heritage was also reflected in the cuisine of the Old West Side, as people were more likely to prepare the food of the old country. People worked out strategies to keep their food as fresh as possible, for instance, keeping it in the cellar or in the winter on the windowsill. Those with ice boxes could keep it longer, but they had to go get ice every few days.
The Old West Side had an ice factory on the corner of Huron and First, which later moved across the street. The ice company made regular deliveries, but many Old West Siders living so near picked it up themselves.
Sledding, oh, we had a lot of hills.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we did a lot of sledding. We had the Arboretum up there. We had a lot of hills up on the south end of town. Those were open fields in those days. In fact, there was some ponds up in there that we went skating at up in the woods.
Oh, at Eberwhite Woods?
Well, it was one on the corner of, as I recollect, it'd probably be where Davis and 7th come together.
Okay.
And right in there used to be a pond years ago.
Oh, yeah, okay, I can imagine
In fact, that's where I learned to skate.
Near where the West Side Methodist Church is now.
Right. Yeah, we walk up there, it seemed like quite a distance to go from there. There was no houses on 5th Street or anything. That was all open territory.
Wow, that would be different.
And we'd go up there and build ourselves a little fire there and put on our skates and nothing indoor.
Other people have told us about freezing the streets and making
Oh, 3rd Street was one of the greatest coasting hills in Ann Arbor.
Oh, is that right?
Right. They used to have that ran from all the way up from Mosley and 3rd. And there's been some years that they crossed William Street. And one year they made Huron Street.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
That would be quite a...
And that track, those used to have bobsleds that were as long as this living room.
Wow.
And they had runners on them that were, I'd say the runners were equally that long. These are big bobsleds. And they would seat anywhere from 10, 15, 20 people.
These were homemade bobsleds?
Yeah. Somebody, I don't know who made them, but they were homemade, and they were really beautiful things in those days. And what they do, they had this track down through the center of 3rd Street, and they had that iced solid. After they built that track, they iced it, so those bobs got in that track. They never went out of it. And the cars, of course, that there was a little delivery at that time, and they would straddle that. They always protected that for us. And every night after school, all the older ones come down there, and we used to have outdoor pumps along the way. And we had one at 3rd Street at our home. And they used to have a great big tank that they had on a sled. And they'd pump that full of water, and then they'd run that down the track slowly, and then they'd water those tracks every day.
Wow, keep them going.
And this activity started about 6:30 at night and went till about 11. And the police barricaded the crossroads, Madison, Jefferson, William, but they never barricaded Liberty or Washington. They never figured we'd go that far, but we made it a couple of times.
That was kind of dangerous.
I was on the one that, it was. Well, there weren't that much traveling in that time. People used to take their automobiles. I know we had a 25 model, 1925 Ford Model T, and my dad jacked it up and put it on jacks all winter. We never drove it in the time.
That's
strictly a summer and spring car.
And you just drive it.
So a lot of people did the same thing. The traffic was heavy. We used to have the deliveries of things, and they would straddle that. Of course, we had it iced so well that they couldn't damage it too much. Oh yeah, that was quite a recreation area. And I guess 8th Street had one too.
Yeah.
Ours was the track. We had the greatest and longest one.
Oh, yours was the best one.
Yeah, when you went down that, you had a long walk back.
You didn't go both ways.
Right. No, this one went down, but you walked all the way back up.
Yeah, and just... So how did you move to this house? Did you move
His Uncle Heine Raab lived on the corner. Aunt Mary was his mother's sister. And he said, this house is for sale. It's better get in there and put your money on it. he comes down here and he has to borrow the money. We needed 500, no, I don't know, quite a bit of money for us. We didn't have it.
Yeah.
So we got, our credit was good, and he got the money, and we moved in here. Butcher Gates, Old Man Becker, everybody, and this is April over there, nobody was young. We're just old people, and the only people we knew was Heine and Aunt Mary.
So you were the youngest in the neighborhood?
Yeah. Old man had a band. No music.
Oh, yes.
Otto band.
Was that her husband?
Yeah, that's his grandfather.
Did he start the band?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there wasn't any television, no radio, no nothing. And if there was a ball game or something that they had to have a band play, Otto band. And so music was prevalent. And it grows in more of the children. Now, my daughter was an accordionist, and my son plays the music. Harlan, one of my boys, said, Mom, how come I can't play? I said, because you take after your grown mother.
But this Otto band, did it have a lot of relatives?
Yeah. Like the Otto band, anybody was an Otto played in it, whether they're good or bad.
Oh, all the family?
Yeah.
And were there non-Ottos in it, too?
Sure, if they could play. And but it has been interesting. It's an old family history, an old family. And when I married my husband, he didn't play anything.
He didn't play.
No, but my son, David, when he was in the university, he played in the university marching band. And Harlan never played anything. He couldn't figure out why. I said, well, because you're just like your mother. You're dumb.
What about, did you hear Otto's band ever play?
Yeah, years and years ago. But not long. It was over, more or less.
Yeah.
And no, my husband was very proud to be in that.
That he was in that band?
Yeah.
Where did you hear them play?
At the 4th of July. They had a parade here, and the Otto band was playing along. And I'm sitting there, and I said, gee, I'm married to that bunch. All my married life, I had horseshoe pitchers coming here. And then now my husband's gone, they're still coming.
How often do they come in the...
Once in the summer, only in the summer.
Every summer they come?
Yeah, in the summer. And whenever the weather's available, and they come on and they'll come and they'll park their cars. They can't find a place to park, they park in my drive. And then they have a little shanty out there. They got a shovel, they can dig up the thing, and I don't have nothing to do with it except I let them play in my yard.
I see. Well, your husband, he became the champion.
Well, yeah, sure. He was a big horseshoe pitcher. He was very active.
So tell me, who still plays horseshoes with you? Plays horseshoes?
Elmer Raab comes.
Yeah, he's the son of
Heine, and he comes, but he isn't, and he's got a son-in-law, and it's the second generation.
Yeah.
Ted Heisel's father played here. He comes, and Ted comes. His father's dead.
And the father had the bakery.
Well, years ago. But Ted's father is dead, but Ted comes.
Yeah.
And Barton's father lived on Dewey Avenue, and there's somebody that lived over there that come and pitch. I can't tell you all their names, but there's a lot of old-timers that are still coming.
Wow.
And they come and they'll come and visit with me and act like I'm important, and I like that.
Yeah.
By 1880, Ann Arbor had a German Working Men's Association, a German shooting club, a German athletic society, a German singing group, the Arbeiter Male Chorus, and 2 German bands, Winners, and later, Otto's, which performed at many city functions. A major organization, still in existence, was the Schwabenverein, ostensibly an insurance group, but much more. Started in 1888, members paid $100 to join, and then 50 cents a month to get $200 burial money when they died. Their first meetings were probably held in Wild's Men's Shop, then at 108 East Washington Street, since Gottlieb Heinrich Wild was their organizer. In 1894, they bought land in town on Ashley for a permanent headquarters. In 1908, they bought the park off Madison Street between 5th and 6th Streets from the Relief Fire Company. There, they enjoyed many picnics, much like those now held at German Park, with musical entertainment, German food, and German-style beer. After the Prohibition was enacted in 1920, they sold the park. In 1968, the Old West Side Association was formed in order to preserve the ambiance of the old neighborhood. In 1972, the Old West Side was entered in the National Register of Historic Homes, the first residential neighborhood to be so named. Up until then, register nominations were mostly for mansions or homes of famous people. The Old West Side's designation was a recognition that the ambiance, the whole look of a neighborhood, was as important as individual structures.
As the years went by, the Germans became more acculturated to the rest of the community as Germans began to take a more active role in community affairs. Then World War I took its toll on the ethnicity of the community as families began to play down their backgrounds and stopped encouraging their children to speak German at home. Both Bethlehem and Zion parochial schools closed during World War I. After World War II, the neighborhood took a definite downward trend as houses began to be divided into multiple living units, or some were even torn down to replace with apartment buildings. In the 60s, the real crisis hit when a developer wanted to build a development that would take a whole block between Jefferson and Madison and make apartment buildings there. Some neighbors who had already started meeting to talk about the changes in the neighborhood organized to stop this development. They consisted of old-time residents such as Florence Hiscock and Harry Cook, whose father had built a lot of the buildings around town, and newer Old West Side residents such as landscape architect Clarence Roy or art professor Chet Lamore. Together they organized and stopped the development and then went on to formally organize the Old West Side Association.
In 1973, they organized the first homes tour, both to display the beauty of the old homes and to raise money. This project is now in its 20th year. In the early years, many of the homes showcased had been retrieved from duplex or multi-family status back to their original single-family use. In recent years, additions are more often featured, as families needing more space decided to stay and build extra rooms rather than move. In 1978, the Old West Side Ordinance was passed by the City Council. It aims at preserving the best features of the neighborhood by regulating changes to the outside of the buildings. Porches are not allowed to be enclosed. Chain fences are forbidden in front yards, and aluminum siding must be no larger than the wooden clapboards they are covering. Today, the Old West Side represents a uniquely preserved turn-of-the-century neighborhood. At a time when many similar neighborhoods of modest working-class homes have been destroyed by neglect and by encroaching downtown areas, Ann Arbor still has this amazingly intact group of homes. And anyone walking through the neighborhood will see it is not a Pompeii, but still an alive, thriving neighborhood with new generations enjoying its ambiance.
We finally found a better place where there's more space to have a life that's lived from the heart. We finally found a lighter of opportunities to make our